All right, so let us start with showing the demo of the chatbot that we're going to build in this tutorial. So the primary goal of this chatbot is to capture lead info. So this AI assistant of John is designed to help his followers enroll into his program, are looking for John's fitness program. So I'm going to tell that I want to enroll in the program. So basically what it's going to do is going to ask us some questions like, what is our main fitness goal? I will say gain more muscle. Also some contact info, and it's going to put it in our database, in our Airtable, so that John's team can contact us later. So now it asks us about our full name. Let's say it's not my real surname, by the way. Last, I will need your phone number, and I'm going to give my imaginary phone number. Perfect, John seems is going to get back to you soon. And if we go inside our Airtable, we can see that we just set it a new record, Daniel Tolstoy, phone number, and goal, gain more muscle. And if we restart the chatbot, and now instead of trying to enroll in the program, we're going to check our registration. It's going to ask us our name. We're going to put this Daniel Tolstoy. Could you please give me a full name so that we can check in our database? Okay, so your phone number should be this, and your goal is to gain more muscle. And this is exactly the info that we have in our table. So if you want to do something like this, stay tuned. I'm going to tell you, going to go through step by step how to build such a chatbot, how to connect it with Airtable. If you're not familiar with who I am, my name is Daniel, and I'm a programmer myself. I've been doing programming for 5 years. Last year, I entered AI space and started as a freelancer first, and now I have founded my first AI agency that helps businesses with AI automations. All right, so let's go through first and foremost steps. In this tutorial, we're going to need VoiceFlow. At this point, you should be familiar with what that is. It is a platform to build chatbots. And we're going to need Airtable, where Airtable is just, you can think of it like advanced Google Spreadsheet. Google Spreadsheet, but with better toolkit for programmers because they have a really extensive API. So basically, it looks like, I'm going to open here. It looks like you have a table, you have some info inside of it, you have some columns, and you just use it to store important information. In our case, we just want to use it as a database, as a storage for capturing our leads. So like our chatbot's gonna go through the conversation flow, ask some questions, capture the information from a lead, and then it needs to store it somewhere. So in order to pass it to the team later, to the sales team, to whoever gonna work out this lead, we need to put it inside a table. Your use case can be anything different from this if you just want to store any data that you're going to need later. All right, so this is the entire workflow. Don't worry if it looks a little bit complicated. I just added more things just to show you a real usage of this chatbot. What we are interested in here is only in these 2 blocks, actually. This one, 2 red blocks, this one and that one. These are the blocks that are communicating with Airtable. But let's first go through the entire workflow just so that you know what we're doing here. So first, greeting message, nothing new here. Then we'll ask about the goal. So this is a first question. And after we ask about the goal, we have some options of response, which we then capture inside goal variable. After we've done that, we ask a question about full name. We also capture it inside a different variable. Then we ask about our phone. We capture it in yet another variable. And then we do a request. So right here, basically what we do, it is a block that is called def API call. And I'm going to explain you right now how it is working. So this block, after we have captured all of the info that we need from a user and captured it inside variables in VoiceFlow, What we want to do is to pass this info to Airtable so that it can create a new record, which will store this new entry of our new lead. So the way how we do this, there is such a thing called API calls. So it is basically a interface that allows us to send requests that perform certain operations on Airtable. So basically, what it means, we're saying that, hey, we want to send a request to Airtable that we want to add a new record. We specify some of the things, like we specify the link, we specify authorization, so it knows that it is our table and we indeed can add a record. And then we specify the data that we want to add. So for example, in this thing, we specify that we want to add some records, and these records include a new entry of full name, with full name equals to our variable name, with phone equals to variable phone, and goal equals to goal. So that is the overall logic, so that we have the interface where we can send a request and it's going to do something on Airtable. So if we wanted to put some data inside our Airtable, we send a request. If we wanted to get some information from our table, fetch some records, we send a request and it sends a response. If we want to change a specific field, specific column in a record, we send a request and we receive a response. So now, while I have explained the logic, let's go into the specifics about these links, authorization, and so on. So let's go in our Airtable, and here, once you have created your table, what you need to do is to generate your API keys, API credentials. The way how you do this, you click on this help button, and you scroll down to API documentation right here. All right, so first what we need is authentication. So authentication is basically the way how Airtable can understand that we are the specific user and we have the rights to alter the table. So first we need to create our token. To do this, we just go here in authentication, create tokens. And what we do, we click on create new token. We're going to name it. Let's name it second token. And then we can add the scope. So here for the scope, we want to be able to read records. So it is data records to read. And we want to be able to write records, data records write. You can add more things, but this is pretty much it. And then you need to check their workspace and databases that you want to have access to for this token. So I'm going to click leads because in my first workspace, I have a table called leads. And then I click create token. Then you need to copy this thing because we will need it later in VoiceFlow. We copy it and done. All right, so here on Help tab, we have this on the left sidebar, we have leads table, and we have different things like retrieve a record, create record, update, observe, delete records. So let's first go to create records. And here, Airtable actually gives us a request that we want to do. It both provides it into formats curl and JavaScript. We'll need curl. So it basically gives us example request of how can we work with this interface to send a request that's gonna add a record inside our database. So basically, if we go to VoiceFlow and look at their setup, this is exactly what I did. So we see that there is this post thing type of request. You choose this one post, then you put this link inside of here. After that, you have the headers. So the headers here, -h is headers, and first one is authorization. So authorization, and then it should be bearer your secret API token. So bearer, and then the API token that we just created, remember? And also a different header, content type, application JSON, content type, application JSON. Then we have a body here. So body is basically saying, hey, we want to add a records, we have an array of records, and we want to add 2 records. First one has such fields, full name Camila F, phone number, goal, and second one has full name, phone, and goal. And what we have here, we have, hey, we want to add records, array of records, only one record, that we have fields, full name equals to variable name, phone equals to variable phone, and goal equals to variable goal. Yeah, and this is pretty much it. So, okay, so now we're done with this post request that creates a new record. Let's go into the second request that fetches the info from our Airtable. So if we go to Airtable help, we have here retrieve a record on the left sidebar, and gives us a sample request, example request. Yeah, and well, basically it is not very useful. The way that I approached it, I would say I would go to ChatGPT as I did, and I would say, hey, I want to have a formula that takes only a record that has full name equals Daniels. This is Airtable API. And then what it's done, it actually done a request for me, a curl request, basically nailing everything that we need. So it's saying, okay, you need to do a GET request with such a URL and with authorization header with your authentication key. So what I actually do, I just copied this link, right? I'm just telling you how you can come up with your own formulas if you need something different from what I have in this template. So, and instead of value Daniel, I just want to say, hey, I want to have my variable name. And also here I want to change because I have not a full name, I have the name of the field with a lowercase. So it's actually saying, hey, filter by formula where full name equals all of these different characters is actually means equals to name. And we can test our request. So we can send a request who put the test variable value and send it. And it says, hey, you received a request. Status code is 200. 200 means that we are successfully done the request. And we can see that here in records, we retrieve info. One record with my phone, with the goal, and with my full name, Daniel Zepp, right? Okay, so now you know how to come up with this URL link for GET request. Authorization header is the same. And so the only thing that is left is to capture response. So after we send a request to Airtable to fetch some info, we then get a response. And we want to capture this response to use in our chatbot. So basically how we do it, the way that is done is called through JSON. JSON is a format in which you get the responses in these API calls. So what are we saying here? We're saying, hey, we get a response. I'm going to actually, we say, okay, so what do we actually have here? We say, hey, we have a response. From our response, we have a field called records. From these records, we want to take a first element. So since it is array, this first element. Then in this object, we will have fields called fields. And inside of it, we will have phone. So basically, how you come up with it, the same way. So you can see that the response that we get is a JSON object. And it has a field records, it have a field with status code and stuff like that. But actually what we saying here in capture and response that this is our response. We want to take what is in field records. Then we have an object that is in this field records. It is an array. We want to take first element. So this is the first element. Then inside this element, we want to take a field named fields. So this is this one, and we get this object. And inside this object, we want to get a field named phone. So we get exactly this value. You can also say, hey, ChatGPT, I have such a JSON response. Assume that it is kept in response. How can I get a phone number from this response object? There was some code in JavaScript, but it actually shows you what exactly you need to do. So it actually gave us what we have here. So we have a variable response, then we go to the field records, first one, field and phone. So if you don't understand fully how it works, you can just ask such questions ChatGPT. So you just try to send a request, you test your request, you get the response, you give him the response, and then you ask ChatGPT, hey, I have some JSON response. Assume that it is kept in a variable response. How can I get a phone number from it? If you don't want to get phone number, but you want to get a different column like full name or goal, you just say it. And then it's going to give you a code where this is exactly what you need. All right, guys, so this is pretty much it. In this tutorial, we have covered how to have Airtable integrated with your VoiceFlow so that you can capture information from your conversation. In this case, capture lead info to save it and then use it later. And also to fetch the information from your Airtable. By the way, you can copy this template in the link below this video. I'm going to put it. So you don't need to build it from scratch. You can just download it and import inside your VoiceFlow account. Yeah, so let me know what you think in the comments, if it is valuable, and also what are the topics that you are interested in that I can cover in more detail, because I have a lot of experience. I can assist you with this. Yeah, thank you for watching.